A very good evening to you. I'm Lisa Lord, and in our news, more concerns raised about some of the alternatives to plastic. Primary school students spend time with the Prime Minister and get some words of advice. Telecom's giant Flow reveals a major change to the way it does business. And in sports, Jofa Archer provided some late innings fireworks to give the Royals victory in today's IPL.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC News Night, starting now.
And in our top story, as Barbados embraces a ban on single-use plastics, concerns are still being raised about challenges associated with some alternatives, particularly the biodegradable packaging. Now, the most recent opportunity to do so was at the latest town hall meeting on the topic held at the Lloyd Erskine Sanford Center. Now, Barry Fakori, a food packaging expert from Trinidad and Tobago, was brought in by the Barbados Association of Retailers, Vendors and Entrepreneurs to highlight some issues. He spoke about research he's conducted into bagasse alternatives and their suitability for food.
What I found out when I was doing research is they have a lot of toxic chemicals that they add into it regionally, worldwide. So in recent time, it's become very popular in the Caribbean. And as the gentleman pointed out, that the chemicals they have in it, they have a limit of 100 parts per million. The chemical we're talking about is a PFAS chemical. It's a polyfluoroalkyl chemical. It's a fluorine-based compound. This compound is being basically banned in food packaging worldwide.
And Mr. Fakuri also suggests that some of the companies which manufacture alternatives don't necessarily have the consumer's best interest at heart.
What has been brought to my attention, discussing with these people abroad, is after companies seem to be getting their certificates, because we don't have the facilities to test these products here originally, they're now adding chemicals and shipping it to our region. These chemicals are a serious issue because they bioaccumulate themselves. So when you talk about, okay, we just throw the bagasse into the water and it disappears, no, it doesn't disappear. These same chemicals are entering our water and entering our fish.
Well, the Minister of Maritime Affairs and the Blue Economy, Kirk Humphrey, responded to Mr. Fakuri's submissions. He addressed, among other things, the issue raised about fluorinated chemicals being added to plastic alternatives.
We don't have all the answers. Nobody in this room does. And the international opinion is divided. Even in the things you've suggested, there's divide. And I wouldn't want anyone to leave this room assuming that fluorine was introduced only to alternatives. A lot of the wrappings you get at Burger King and KFC and those things you get your burgers in, those are loaded with fluorine. So you've been using it all along. We're not introducing it into Barbados. It's been here, and it's been here for years. And so I don't want to scare people into thinking that, you know, every alternative is about to change their constitution when it has been here.
Now, the minister also extended an invitation to Mr. Fakuri to return to Barbados and have further discussions with a view to ensuring the transition from plastics is done in the best way possible. Now, it was also at that town hall meeting that it was revealed that consideration is being given to amending the Returnable Container Act. Currently, petrol-based plastics, mainly PET bottles, are collected for refund, which are later shipped off the island to make new plastic. Thor Lord of the Project Management Coordination Unit of the Ministry of the Environment and National Beautification says once expanded, containers not normally covered could be collected.
Do you really need to take a straw? Do you really need to take a lid? Do you really need to take a fork? Well, sometimes you may need to take a fork. But I don't know about y'all, but I hate a plastic fork. You put it in certain things and then it goes like this. You know, like my friend here, she walks with a nice little pot with a fork and a knife and a straw and all that. Maybe more of us could do things like that. And if we do things like that, we would be making a difference. But even so, unless you're going through the drive-through and you need the lid and the straw, maybe salt spillage, and they take your order, tell them, I don't need a straw. I don't need a lid. Okay? Y'all will do that for me? You're taking your bags, you're refusing some stuff, we're making it happen? All right.
Well, last evening, our Shane Jones was live in studio speaking about a pretty interesting suggestion raised during an exclusive interview with veteran criminologist Kim Ramsey. She suggested that Barbadians ought to do a background check before getting into relationships. Tonight, we bring you more from that interview. Ms. Ramsey is saying that the Barbadian society is rapidly changing in terms of criminal offenders, re-offenders, and the types of crimes they commit. She was responding to the question of if offenders should be given second chances. Ms. Ramsey says the increase in perpetrators re-offending is particularly worrisome.
I remember there was a time in Barbados that the persons who commit murder were the least likely to recidivate. That has not changed. We're seeing now an increase in persons who have committed homicides who are coming back in the system.
Why?
And it's something we need to explore.
Yeah.
I think the changing nature of homicides is a problem as well because, in the advent of guns and so on, people get bail, they come out, they reoffend, they still have wars with other persons in society.
And turning her attention to recent domestic violence, Ms. Ramsey highlighted some of the main reasons for intimate partner violence.
Some men feel their masculinity is threatened and they lash out at women as a way of trying to control the woman and bring her back into, the dominant. He's the dominant person, she's just, the weaker of the two. So they have this threat of their masculinity is an issue. Then jilted lovers. Some men just cannot, as people say, can't take a gun.
Don't say. Yeah, but
they can't take a gun, and they can't see their lives without a particular person. So you would have seen back in the day they had a lot of, and it still goes on, but murder-suicides. In Jamaica just had a couple murder-suicides. Barbados, to some extent, it happens every now and again.
Meantime, Minister of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs Cynthia Ford has condemned the level of violence in Barbadian society, which has claimed the lives of 21 people, including 5 women so far this year. Minister Ford, in the wake of the stabbing death of mother of 2 Zanaba Moore, noted that she fully embraced the assertion by the World Health Organization that violence against women, particularly intimate partner violence, is a major public health problem and a violation of women's human rights. She urged people who are aware of conflict within households or neighbors not to turn a blind eye, but to reach out to assist those who they perceive to be in harm's way. Well, Prime Minister Mia Amor Mottley paid the students of the St. Stephen's Primary School a visit earlier today. Ms. Mottley was accompanied by Acting Minister of Education, Senator Lucille Moe, and Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Elder Affairs and People Empowerment, Neil Rowe. Ms. Mottley told the students each had the potential to be a future Prime Minister or a Member of Parliament like Mr. Rowe, who attended that institution. The Prime Minister also spoke to them about a number of key values, including the golden rule of doing unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Now that's what's going to make you good Barbadian citizens. That's one of the things. The next thing I want you to remember is how to work with each other. I want you to remember that sometimes you can't do it all alone. And there's nothing wrong with saying, I need help. And if you need help, you ask for it politely. I need help. What's the magic word? I need help. What? Everybody knows the magic word.
What's Trending is brought to you by Trident Insurance. We treat you like family.
And we say good evening now to Sharika, who is in our social media corner.
Good evening, Lisa, and here's what's trending. Earlier, you heard a suggestion that people should be able to do background checks to find out more about a potential or current partner. People have been offering their opinions about this on Facebook. Marcia Armstrong thinks people should be on the lookout for red flags in relationships. She says, unfortunately, some of us ignore them, focusing on appearance instead of personality traits. Peter Edwards has a different view. He doesn't believe the public should have access to other people's private information. And Gail Richards wants to know how the process will work. But she also raises the point that doing background checks gives the impression there is little confidence in the justice system's ability to rehabilitate offenders in prison. Now, people in the Philippines are still reeling after 2 major earthquakes this week. Both measured over 6.0 on the Richter scale and caused at least 16 deaths. 81 people have been injured and 14 are still missing. Well, videos have emerged on social media showing the frightening moments when the quakes hit, sending people scrambling for cover. Then there's this footage which shows water spilling from a rooftop pool in a high-rise building during one of the tremors. Unbelievable stuff there. Well, in the U.S., former Vice President Joe Biden has launched his run for presidency. He made the official announcement this morning via his social media accounts. And in his address, he took a swipe at President Donald Trump, referencing his comments following a white supremacist rally in Virginia in 2017. Take a look.
And that's when we heard the words of the President of the United States that stunned the world and shocked the conscience of this nation. He said there were, quote, some very fine people on both sides. Very fine people on both sides? With those words, the President of the United States assigned a moral equivalence between those spreading hate and those with the courage to stand against it.
Well, following the announcement, President Trump did what all of us expected him to do and took to Twitter, referring to Biden as Sleepy Joe. Trump said he hopes he has the intelligence needed to be successful in the primaries, and he warned it would be nasty and that Biden would be dealing with people with some very sick and demented ideas. The president went on to say that if Biden was able to make it through the primaries, he would see him at the starting gate. So it definitely looks like the 2020 presidential race will be one to watch. Now, usually in Barbados, when you hear the expression, the drinks have gone to your head, it's not usually a good thing. But in this next video, it's just about pure skill. Check it out. And that's what's trending for this evening. You can find us easily on Facebook, Instagram, and by email. Lisa, I think she was probably top at her class in book balancing at school.
Telling me, kudos to her. I can't even
Definitely.
balance 2 drinks, one at each time when I go out. So I'll pass on that one. Kudos to her. Thank you so much, Sharika. Barbados could find itself facing some serious embarrassment in the international dental field if local practitioners do not take advantage of continuing education programs. This warning from chairman of the Caribbean Dental Program, Dr. Victor Eastman, who was speaking during the 17th annual CDP Dental Convention.
If a case came up where one of our dental surgeons, for instance, did something and it was a mishap, and it is publicized in the international arena, it's going to make Barbados look very stupid. Not only that, but when the international news media get hold of it, one of the things they will immediately pounce on is that the Barbadian dentists are not being educated on a continual basis. And I think that will really put Barbados in a bad light. And I really would like to urge the Minister of Health to meet with us as soon as possible to try to get this done.
And in response, Health Minister Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Bostick revealed a thorough review of the Dental Registration Act has been already carried out. He says that mandatory continuing education will soon be a prerequisite for license renewal and a dental specialist register will be established.
The enactment of the updated and revised Dental Act will make attendance at conferences such as these, along with other modes of continuing professional development, mandatory. Although it seems as though it has been a long time in waiting, I assure you that the Barbados Dental Council, along with the relevant stakeholders, will be working assiduously on this piece of legislation to ensure that the profession of dentistry is brought up to date and into the 21st century for the benefit of all.
Barbados is now better equipped to bounce back after being hit by a natural disaster. This through the Ministry of Energy and Water Resources Disaster Risk Energy Access Management Project, or DREAM. A major component of that program is the installation of solar PV systems with battery backup at 22 community and resource centers and pavilions, as well as 9 polyclinics. Speaking from a Flip the Switch ceremony at the Ivy Community Center, Minister of Energy and Water Resources Wilfred Abrams says that while many Barbadians believe in the good old saying that God is a Bajan, we cannot afford to let our guards down.
Barbadians who actually believe in natural disaster will never hit Barbados again. We are living in a fool's paradise. If we look at what has happened to our other Caribbean neighbors, it is a matter of time before something of significance hits us. We can't stop it from hitting. What we can do is prepare ourselves for it so that we bounce back as quickly as possible. There's still some areas in Dominica that don't have electricity. There's still areas in other affected countries, island territories, that don't have electricity years after the hurricane.
Minister Abrams says another component of DREAM is making renewable energy more accessible for the average Barbadian.
We are looking to enfranchise people. Renewable energy and renewable energy options are not just going to be for the people who can afford them. We are going to make them affordable. We're going to make them accessible. We're going to make them relevant. There's no reason, Pressy, that somebody who cannot afford to have light and power connect them for electricity should not be in a position to put a PV panel on their house so that they can enjoy the basic amenities that nobody in Barbados, regardless of circumstance, should be deprived of.
Mbada Mandela, the grandson of the late South African freedom fighter Nelson Mandela, is on a mission to create linkages between South Africa and the Caribbean. He is in Barbados, his first trip to the island, and leaves on Sunday. Mr. Mandela is telling Barbados there is potential for areas of cooperation between the motherland and the region, given their history. And he was a guest on CBC TV 8's program, Morning Barbados.
We come together and build businesses. When you look at the global political economy, us Africans do not have a voice. We are not at the table sitting next to China, Russia, Europe, world powers. So the only way we can do that really is to come together and build products and services that we can sell directly to the market.
On to regional news now. In Trinidad and Tobago, it seems as though recent criticisms by the media about the Commissioner of Police, Gary Griffith, have hit home. He is not pleased with recent coverage in the media.
Ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, I thank you. Members of the media, the Commissioner will not be entertaining any questions at this time, so this brings us to the end of today's media brief.
Just as members of the media were about to question top cop Gary Griffith on several pertinent issues, this happened. At the weekly police press conference, Griffith condemned media houses for inaccurate reporting on issues involving the Jaguarity TV station and the recently concluded Buju Banton concert. Before storming off, Griffith threatened to refuse further comments on national issues.
It is the media that contacts me. I get over 50 calls a day from the media, and now I am paying the price for being accessible to the media. So maybe I should Stephen Williams myself from now on, and I will lose all. So from now on, if the media has nothing to do with me, you don't hear from me, I have no comment to make. Be careful what you ask for, because you might get just that.
But before his abrupt exit, the Commissioner strongly criticized the Media Association and the Publishers and Broadcasters Association. Both organizations condemned the police service's approach in retrieving copies of a program where Mahasaba's Secretary General Sat Maraj made derogatory comments about Tobagonians.
If it is that the Publishing Association, they have a policy, and Matt has a policy, that is no business to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. We have our policy.
He stressed the incident was not a witch hunt and also clarified reports that the search was conducted without a warrant. Griffith also lashed back at critics who claimed his appearance on stage with Jamaican reggae artist Buju Banton was a PR campaign.